Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brandon Biggs. I am one of the wireless account managers here at Open Reality. And today we're going to be talking about how to solve the mystery that is Fickle Wi-Fi performance. Now, with me today, we've also got Eric from 7Signal, who I'll be handing over to very shortly to run us through a bit more of a deep dive on essentially what 7Signal is and how it works and how it's beneficial to perhaps the organization or your business. But in the meantime, I'm just going to quickly give us a very brief run through on a little bit about who we are and what we do here at Open Reality. So what Open Reality do? So we started back in 1999, primarily involved in application testing and network performance. This is still very much a big part of what we do. However, we now do a lot of this through our sister company called BrightCloud. Now, as you do in business, you ride technology waves as the industry changes and as time changes. And so with that, BrightCloud sort of evolved into a bit more of a cloud solution, security, data protection type provider. Obviously, again, something that we still work a lot with today. And then finally, while we're talking about 7Signal, is our wireless piece. Now, a lot of you will know us, Open Reality, from our time with Ekahau. We've been working with the team at Ekahau now going on probably 12 or so years. And that sort of broadened, or I guess opened our eyes to the industry that was wireless and the potential that was there in terms of business, and then obviously the way that people were looking at communicating on the networks. This is the way that the industry was going. Over the past sort of 6 to 8 months, we've been making quite a bit of change internally. We had a lot of people who were coming to us, in particular for Ekahau, and saying, well, you know, what else do you do? What other gaps can you fill? How else can you help us in terms of wireless? And until quite recently, we didn't really have anything to fill those gaps. And that was when we started working with the likes of 7Signal. Along with that, we've also brought on a few other vendors, which you can see on the screen today. So from a survey perspective, when you're doing on-site AP on a stick surveys, if that means anything to you, we have the team from Hive Radar. They have a very impressive piece of kit. That's coupled with the guys from Mojo Networks as our AP infrastructure vendor. These guys have just recently been acquired by a company called Arista, who you may know. And obviously 7Signal we're going to be talking about today for the performance management and monitoring of wireless networks. So very, very brief overview on us. Obviously, if there's anything you want to talk about wireless related, you want to bounce some ideas around, we're more than happy to help. Or obviously, again, in the other pieces that we work on in terms of network performance, monitoring, etc., please feel free to get in contact with us. Now, Eric, I'll pass over control to you, my friend. So give me 2 seconds.
All right, fantastic. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you inviting us to this webinar today to talk about 7Signal. You know, just looking at the title of the webinar, Wi-Fi is a mystery. It's a mystery to a lot of folks, and the reason I feel is because we can't see it. We can't see Wi-Fi. We can't therefore understand why it works one day just fine and it doesn't work well the next. And as a result, it is a mystery. And this is really kind of the origins of our company. You know, people have been measuring Ethernet networks for the past 30, 40 years in a very comprehensive way. But now that Wi-Fi has reached a mission critical tipping point and is rapidly becoming the preferred network for organizations, we need to start monitoring it and measuring it in a way that allows us to get the performance that we're looking for. There we go. So just a little bit about 7Signal here. So 7Signal was started in Helsinki, Finland back in 2007. The origins came from Nokia engineers who were monitoring and measuring 2G and 3G wireless networks. And this was a time, as we all remember, when there were a lot of dropped calls and there was a lot of jitter and it was frustrating and people were becoming ever increasingly reliant upon great performing cellular networks. And they helped develop a system of performance management that would actually improve the quality of the network to the point where today dropped calls is hopefully a thing of the past. And so these engineers took the skills that they learned and they looked ahead into the future. And they said, you know what? We feel strongly that Wi-Fi is going to be this there's going to be this tidal wave of Wi-Fi that takes over. Therefore, can we apply some of these principles and develop a system that will continually monitor Wi-Fi networks in a way that allows us to be proactive, allows us to see what's happening in the environment, to look at the air and unravel that mystery of what's really going on, and in an attempt, raise or elevate the experience for everybody who's using the Wi-Fi network. We wound up relocating to Ohio in 2013, and if you look at the map of the United States, we're in Northeast Ohio in Cleveland, and Cleveland is pretty much smack dab in the middle between New York City and Chicago, just to give you an idea of where we're located. And we rested in Northeast Ohio for this reason. There's a lot of Wi-Fi talent in this area. Cleveland, Ohio, Northeast Ohio is where Aeronet was. And Aeronet, as we all are aware, were acquired by Cisco about 10 or so years ago. And even the Aeronet name is used today with that generation of access points. So as a result, we were able to incorporate a lot of talent into our organization in helping develop this system of Wi-Fi performance management. We have a lot of customers in a lot of different countries. Where we have a lot of experience in not just hospital systems, but a lot of experience at universities, manufacturing facilities, offices, retail establishments, and the like. So now I want to dive into what the problem is. What our customer base has really told us is that because Wi-Fi is invisible, and because we're all connected to Wi-Fi devices, we have a typical knee-jerk response to what's wrong when we're having an issue with our connectivity. And we have a tendency to just point the finger at the Wi-Fi network and say, well, I'm on my laptop or I'm using my tablet and I'm having a problem, therefore it's a wireless problem, fix it. But upon further investigation, what we've discovered is that it actually could be a wired issue or it could be a client device issue. And so therefore, what our goal in developing a system was to help you, the user, the IT professional, determine, is this a wired, wireless, or client issue? Let's quickly point the finger in the right direction as opposed to pointing them at each other with just reckless abandon. Instead, let's quickly identify where the issue lies so that we can go after it quickly. And not only that, but instead of waiting for the complaints to come in and people then falsely point the finger at where the problem might be, let's get proactive, okay? So let's take a look at what's happening in real time at the network and determine with that visibility what's really going on out on the edge of the network with people experiencing the network. And so therefore we can run reports, we can do analytics so that we can identify where those soft spots on our network are so that we can address them quickly and proactively instead of having these drop everything moments where leadership may be complaining about a poor experience. And then finally, another area where we really felt there was a gap in the market was this idea of providing a detailed Wi-Fi performance history. You know, oftentimes problems are reported after the fact. Not only that, but the environment is changing. It is so dynamic. And so as a result, when we need to identify root cause of Wi-Fi issues, sometimes we need to look back, and that could be a few hours or even a few days. And so what we'll do is we'll talk about a system today at 7Signal where we're actually recording everything that's going on in the air for 90 days, giving you the opportunity to look back and see, what did the environment look like at this moment or at that moment when people were having trouble with the Wi-Fi? And in that manner, we're able to unlock that mystery of what was really going on in the environment at a specific time, specific area, and we're able to then finally get to root cause. So it's very exciting in terms of what's in it for you, the idea of being able to quickly and accurately identify, do I have a wired or wireless or client device issue? And that's what we're going to try to show you today. So this is the traditional approach. Just to draw a little bit of contrast here, the traditional approach would be to look at our wireless LAN utility. And so I'm talking about like a Cisco Prime, for instance, or maybe Aruba Airwave. And these systems actually provide great infrastructure points of view. You have to have these systems. They're going to tell you and make sure that all of your access points have properly joined the network. They're going to give you good metrics and statistics with regards to bandwidth utilization, help you identify who your top talkers are. All of that is really important. But what our strategy here at 7Signal is, let's complement, let's not compete. And the reason why is because these systems don't really have good visibility into what's truly happening all the way out on the edge of your network, where clients are trying to experience the network. That's the missing piece. What's happening in that space between access points and client devices, including what's happening on the client device? There's a gap. And so this is where 7Signal is going to complement and not compete. So let's take a look at that system. What we feel here at 7Signal is that we have something called an outside-in approach, again, where we're looking out on the edge of the network where clients actually experience the network, putting ourselves in their shoes, if you will, and really seeing, almost like Wi-Fi telemetry, what is the health and wellness of those clients and of the air as well. As we all know, there's this great shift to from 2.4 to 5 gigahertz. And we're doing this because we feel like 2.4 from a network perspective is pretty crowded, pretty congested, kind of trashed, if you will. And we're now moving to 5 gigahertz. But as I'm sure everybody on the line is aware, will soon get crowded as well. We're going to start running into similar issues with regards to 5 gigahertz as more and more devices come online and start using up all of those channels. And as a result, you need to have a system that's going to help you manage the air, that's going to give you insight and visibility into what's really happening out there on the edge of the network. So this is our first product. The first product is what we call MobileEye. And MobileEye is an app or an agent that's going to reside on your workstations. And in doing so, we're actually going to reveal the true experience, what's happening from the end user's point of view. Let's take a closer look at some of the things that MobileEye is going to measure. So one of the things that we're doing is we're gathering the configuration of the computer. So we can identify the make, the model, also the wireless LAN adapter and software driver version. And then we're able to couple that with performance. We're measuring throughput, we're measuring latency, we're also measuring roaming and stickiness. And in that manner, we're able to then determine which devices perform well and which ones perform poorly on my network. And this helps inform your purchasing decisions and your upgrade decisions with regard to devices on your network. It's so nice when you're able to characterize the roaming behavior of different clients, because as we know, clients and the software in them has so much to do with roaming. And it's not something that's within the control necessarily of the wireless network. We can do some things with band steering and some other things, but nevertheless, it's the software and the client that makes so many decisions. So this is software that resides on Windows, Mac OS, or Android devices. There's also an iOS app. And there are some wonderful use cases for this. For instance, in hospitals, we will put MobileEye on workstations on wheels, what we call the WOWs. And what we're able to do is, as those nurses and clinicians are rolling those carts up and down the hallways, serving patients, focusing on patient outcomes, what we're able to do is then provide insight into how their workstation is actually performing from a Wi-Fi perspective. We're able to see the network they're on, the access point they're connected to, their signal strength, their data rate, their throughput performance, their roaming capability. We're able to capture all of that. And as a result, if there is a problem, we can look directly into the device and see, what was happening over the past few hours that maybe caused an issue. Maybe they weren't connected to the right access point. Maybe they were connected to the wrong band. They were on 2.4 when we thought we turned off those radios, and now they're when they should be connected to 5. All of that is revealed to you. And as a result, you can answer a lot of questions with regards to what's happening with Wi-Fi in just a few moments. Now, MobileEye is not only great for workstations on wheels in hospitals, but it's also great on Android-based scanners and pickers in warehousing facilities and in manufacturing. So a lot of these devices, maybe like a Zebra device or other devices, we can put it on there. And again, they're very difficult issues to track down. But by having this bit of Wi-Fi telemetry actually on the device, we're now able to track and trend that device's performance as it does its job throughout the course of the day. And again, when the complaints come in, we simply look it up and we can see what precisely was happening and at what time. And even from a proactive standpoint, we run reports so that we can quickly and easily see which are the poorest performing devices on my network and then allow me to take steps accordingly. It's very easy to deploy. You would use, for instance, SCCM from Microsoft or MDM solutions like AirWatch, and you would just simply push this out to all of your clients and devices, perform various tests, and everything is just simply going to report back to the cloud. It is the simplest and cleanest way to provide the Wi-Fi performance analysis that you need in order to identify what's happening and to help people. So that's product number one. Product number two is what we call SapphireEye. So we know that there are certain situations where there's BYOD, there's personal devices, and we can't put MobileEye on people's personal devices. In those cases, many times in office environments, like I said, where there's a lot of BYOD, we will actually insert our SapphireEye high performance client. Now, this looks like an access point, but it's not. It's a client. And what's important to note about that is, as a client, it needs to associate to a radio, and if for whatever reason it can't, you're going to be instantly notified with a performance alert or an alarm. Because it's a client, it needs to authenticate to your network. If it can't authenticate for whatever reason, you're going to be instantly notified with an alert. A lot of people don't have good insight into radius and understanding that there's maybe a problem or that it's overloaded. So now we have it. Third, it needs to get an IP address. So now we're interacting with DNS and DHCP services. As a result, if we can't get an IP address, you will be instantly notified. It's not a Wi-Fi problem, it's a DHCP problem. And again, being able to quickly and easily point the finger to where the problem is so valuable in saving time and money. And then finally, once we're able to get onto the network, now it starts to perform client or doing client duties. It's going to be uploading and downloading files. We do throughput testing. We're measuring packet loss, latency, and jitter 24 hours a day in the area, which is really nice because now we're able to actually see what our network looks like when it's busy, when it's empty, and everywhere in between. Again, trying to unlock those mysteries of what is really going on in my environment. All the while recording everything and storing it in the cloud for 90 days so that you can look back in time. Now, there's some additional special properties that the SapphireEye has as well. For instance, it has a built-in spectrum analyzer. And again, all the while, 24 hours a day, it's recording what's happening in the spectrum on both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Now, sometimes interference is really hard to catch, but not anymore. It also has the ability to do remote packet capture, which is extremely valuable in those environments where it's a distributed architecture, where there are many facilities scattered all over the country, or all over the world for that matter. To be able to quickly and easily turn on remote packet capture, get that PCAP file and download it, open it up in Wireshark and see exactly what's happening if I have those skills, is extremely valuable because of the amount of time and energy that it saves, not having to dispatch technicians and use walk-around systems and tools. So very, very valuable. Now, the other thing I'll say about the SapphireEye is that the 2100 model that you see on the right side of your screen does have a very unique and patented antenna array built into it. One SapphireEye with its high gain directional antenna array has the ability to connect to 4 to 6 access points at -65 dBm or better, which is critical because it needs to connect like a client would. But we can hear all sorts of access points out there at neg 75, neg 85, but we only connect to those access points at neg 65 dBm or better, just like a client would. And in that manner, we connect to an access point, and we can connect to whatever SSID, BSSID combination you want us to. We can go through a series of networks on both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. We then disconnect and go to the next one, disconnect, go to the next one. And in round robin fashion, we're continually monitoring and measuring the performance of your Wi-Fi network from the edge looking in. So just to review the two products before we dive into the demo. On the left, we have MobileEye. And again, MobileEye is perfect for hospitals and healthcare facilities where there are a lot of these workstations that are rolling around on carts. It's just fantastic for characterizing the roaming behavior of those devices, also tracking and trending the network, the access point, the signal strength, the frequency, the band, the channel, all of those things. And at the same time, identifying different makes, models, and driver versions that perform well and poorly on your network. Now, on the right side of the screen, we have the SapphireEye. And the SapphireEye, as you can see, is an 802.11ac 3x3 client. It is power over Ethernet. One SapphireEye 2100 connects to 4 to 6 access points, so it can really monitor and measure a very large area of your organization. 24 hours a day, measuring throughput, packet loss, latency, and jitter. Not only that, but we're calculating a MOS score for talking and listening. And we're doing that because we know how important voice over Wi-Fi is, especially in enterprise organizations, as well as in hospitals. There is so much taking place from a voice over Wi-Fi perspective. We're going to give you insight into the quality of those conversations with our MOS scoring. And like I said, it does have the spectrum analyzer. We're also measuring congestion metrics like airtime utilization. And there's also remote packet capture. All of these things are going to roll up to the cloud. And what you do is you would then log in to IQ. IQ is our user interface. And this is where you're going to look at your dashboard. This is where you're going to get your performance analytics and all of your RF and device detail. And that, in fact, is where we are going to go next with the demo. So Carlos or Brandon, if you can pass over control to me, I'm going to open up my browser and I'm going to give you guys a quick tour of MobileEye.
Sure thing, just handing it over to you now.
All right, fantastic. All right, so the first screen that I have here of IQ, actually it's our Sapphire screen. So we'll look at that one first since I have it right here. Now again, this is all in the cloud and this is our offices here at 7 Signal. Now the SapphireEye measures over 500 different metrics. It'll be very difficult for you to follow all of that. So as a result, we've tried to break it down and make it really simple for you by looking at this dashboard. We've broken it down into these 4 macro KPIs, key performance indicators. And we're basically trying to ask 4 very important questions. First, can I connect to the network? Remember, the SapphireEye is always trying to associate to the radio. If for whatever reason that access point goes silent, no longer is beaconing, is malfunctioning in any way, shape, or form due to a bug or anything otherwise, then we're going to tell you about it with an instant notification. 2, authentication. All the while we're measuring radius in all of the phases of authentication. The SapphireEye is compatible with over 15 different forms of authentication, and we can even program the SapphireEye to click the T's and C's and hit a submit button so that it can pass through a captive portal, which is really valuable in making sure that that is working properly for your guests. Third, we're testing IP and DNS services. Can we get an IP address? And again, I'll just click on the view details here in order to show you some insights as to what we're capturing here. And you can see here all of the phases of DHCP and IP address retrieval time. If for whatever reason the DHCP server is not responding, if the DHCP server or the IP address retrieval time is taking too long because it's overloaded or something is wrong, again, you're instantly notified with an alert from 7Signal. And those alerts come in two flavors. One, email. We can email it to whatever addresses you want. Two, an SNMP trap that we can send to whatever system you have for consuming those traps. So you can see all of the phases here. Now fourth, once we're on the network, then we want to take a look at the quality of the experience. And we're doing this from the SapphireEye's point of view. After all, it is a client. So let's drill into those and take a quick look. As you can see here, we're doing some throughput testing around the clock here at 7Signal. We're measuring both throughput on 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. And as you can see here, 5 gigahertz is probably double the performance of 2.4 all throughout the day and night. I scroll down a little bit further, and what I can do is actually do some ping testing, again, on both bands, and I can put in whatever targets I want. So if there are certain servers I want to make sure we always have access to, I'm pinging them all the while, all day and all night, almost like a heartbeat. And then again, if for whatever reason, I can no longer reach a certain server on my network with my client SapphireEye, again, you're instantly notified through our system, helping you become proactive instead of reactive, waiting for that horrible phone call in the middle of the night. Same thing with web page download. And then down here, these are some key performance indicators that are really picking up steam, if you will, here with our customer base. Like I was saying before, the MOS scoring that we're doing in both the listening and the talking direction, the characterization of the experience through measuring jitter and packet loss. These are really valuable metrics that our customers use in order to determine what's happening from a voice quality standpoint in different parts of their organization. As everybody knows, we're all moving towards voice over Wi-Fi, voice over IP. As a matter of fact, I'm speaking to you right now with voice over Wi-Fi using GoToMeeting. And whether it be Skype for Business or Slack or Jabber or whatever it is, more and more people are moving towards those tools. But if you do, you need to have a system in place for monitoring and measuring the quality. And with 7Signal, now you have it. All right, just moving a little bit further down here, there are some other key performance indicators and metrics that I really love. This one in particular, the signal to noise ratio. So it's so important to be able to keep track of what the signal to noise ratio is in an area. The noise floor can fluctuate depending upon what's happening in the environment. And that can have a drastic impact on quality of experience. So what we're doing is we're actually tracking and trending the signal to noise ratio in an entire area. And as a result, you can actually then see, are there fluctuations or changes in the noise floor that would then impede or impact the client experience. So this is a really nice feature right here. And then also we're doing some other things in order to help you determine if there's congestion. We're calculating the airtime utilization on both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. We're also looking at channel utilization to make sure that you have good balance there as well. And this is particularly important on 5 gigahertz where there are a lot of channels. So let's make sure that we're properly utilizing them. And with our system, we're able to do that. Now, if you want, you can get a little bit deeper into the system. What I'm showing you right here is kind of a high level, it's a top level. And again, we don't expect our customers to be in this system all the time and checking out this chart and looking at that graph. But rather, you're going to depend upon the system of alerts and alarms that we've set up for you and with you so that you are instantly notified when certain conditions take place that are out of your service level compliance. But with that said, I do want to just jump over and show you some of the deeper capabilities of SapphireEye. So when I switch over here to the analyzer, the first thing I'm showing you here is not a heat map, but a performance map. And I'm able to light up on that map where Wi-Fi experiences are good and where they're bad. This is at 7 Signal. This is the guest network right here in the conference room that might be overloaded. Another thing I wanted to show you is that at any time you can actually take a look at the channel utilization. So this is 5 gigahertz. You can see here we've got some turkey on channel 5 I don't appreciate. And I can actually see who that is by just simply clicking over here, and I can see. And the same thing on 5 gigahertz. Like I said, 5 gigahertz is getting pretty crowded. I want to be able to see who's blasting on what channels, and I can see I've got some offenders that have these big wide 80 megahertz channels, and I want to know who they are, and I can very see what radios are causing what, and by clicking here I can actually see that. Also, the spectrum analyzer is in here as well, and so just in looking at 2.4 here, you can actually see what's happening, and we're recording this for 90 days, so I can go back and take a look at the spectrum yesterday, last week, last month. Here at 7 Signal in the middle of the night, we have security cameras that turn on and they blast channel 6 and basically knock almost everything off. And you can see that right here. And we're able to identify it because the SapphireEye has a directional antenna array, and it will actually tell you the direction from where interference is coming from. And so all we do is we look, okay, it's coming from antenna 3, or that's facing northwest. We look northwest and there's a security camera. It's as simple as that. And it answers the question, mystery solved. And then again, over here, we've got the alarms. So again, these alarms, these basically are the SNMP traps. We tell you the kind of alarm, okay? This is a talking alarm, where it's taking place, what access point it's happening on, what SapphireEye, when it started and how long it's been going on for. So again, just taking the mystery out of what the heck is going on your Wi-Fi network. I'll just tell you. So that's SapphireEye. Now let me switch quickly over to MobileEye. Okay. So this is a screen for MobileEye. And this is one of our hospital customers. Again, we have healthcare organizations putting MobileEye on hundreds, in some cases thousands of these workstations on wheels that nurses are using in order to help their patients. And so, for instance, if I run a report right here, in the name of being proactive, I can very quickly and easily run a report that will show me, for instance, all of the different types of devices that I have on my network, the make, the model, the adapter, the driver, and the performance. If there are any devices that are prone to having really slow performance, maybe because they have radios and drivers that are incompatible, then they're going to show up right here. So this is interesting. Look at this. We've got 351 Lenovo devices that we're monitoring with MobileEye in this hospital. This model, this adapter, there are 3 different versions of adapter, and we have performance measurements to go along with it for whatever time period we select. It could be selecting for a day, a week, a month. So really fascinating. Now, again, in the name of being proactive, if I want to see which devices are performing worst on my network so that I can remediate proactively, I can simply click on this link right here and run this report, and I can see the name of the client, the access point that it's connected to, the channel and band that it's on, throughput, the min-max throughput, and the signal strength, min and max. And then if I want, I can just click on that client and get the full story. I click on the client and I'm immediately brought to a client performance page where I have all the detail about what that client is actually experiencing at this time. This is just for the last 24 hours. If I wanted to maybe get a little bit more history, I would click on 7 days and look at it for the whole week. So let's do that. Immediately, I can see whether my issues are client related, network related, or Wi-Fi related. Right here, no roaming problems. And you can see that from a roaming perspective, down here in the lower left, I'm able to track and trend every access point, every network, every channel that the device has been on for the last week. So this device has only been on, hasn't been on very many access points. If I go back to my report, I can choose a different client, maybe one that has a little bit more data, like this one right here. It's been on a variety of access points. And look at this, they've spent a lot of their time on channel 1, 6, and 11. They're on 2.4 and they're getting very poor performance. Let's dig into that. I click on that and I can get a lot of really nice detail about the roaming history, the Wi-Fi performance, the network performance, and its throughput performance. So let's let that load for the last couple, or for the last week. There we go. Wow, and you can see here that this is actually a device having a lot of Wi-Fi issues. Okay, so what does that mean? When I click on Wi-Fi and watch what happens in the analysis tab to the right, we're going to see here that we've got some major signal strength issues. Look at that. I'm connected at -83, -80, -79. This is crazy. And as a result, I'm connecting at lower data rates as well as my fellow workstations. So this is really bizarre. Now let me go down a little bit further here and take a look at something here. When I look at the adapter in this workstation, it's this Realtek semiconductor adapter that has a wireless 802.11n adapter, and I suspect that is an adapter that is not even capable of 5 gigahertz. I mean, look at this. I'm on channel 11, channel 6 the entire time. Unbelievable. Now, if I wanted to check and make sure that if that was an adapter that was actually on the hot list as being poorly performing, all I do is I go up to my reports and I simply take a look at my bottom 20 adapters report. And when I do that, there it is, third on the list. And I can very quickly and easily see that I've only got one client that's actually using it, but now I can address that client proactively, swap out that workstation or upgrade it, and then get this nurse or clinician back on track. So very exciting, very exciting. The capabilities here. And if I want, again, I can click into it and I can see whatever I need to see with regards to that device's performance over the past day, week, or month. I can also filter by location. I can filter by network. If I only wanted to look at certain devices on a certain store or a certain hospital or a certain branch, I can very easily filter in this manner. So again, we're giving you unprecedented insight and visibility into Wi-Fi performances and experiences. We're giving you visibility as to what's actually happening in the air with SapphireEye so that you can see whether there's interference, co-channel interference, external interference, whether there's problems with legacy clients and low data rates. We're bringing it all together for you, and then we're presenting this to you as a system of alerts and performance notifications that allow you to go directly to the problem and not waste a lot of time. So that is the demo that I wanted to share with you guys today. And I wanted to hand it back over to Brandon. And Brandon, you can take back control and maybe you can talk a little bit about the commercials and how to buy and things of that sort.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that, Eric. Really, really good. So if there is any sort of additional resources you might need, obviously the 7Signal website is a great place to start. Lots of valuable information there. Obviously, we are here to assist in terms of being the distributor in country, be it if you're an end user, a school, a hospital, or a reseller alike. We're here to help. We can certainly point you in the right direction in terms of getting demos arranged. We have proof of concept stock that we can arrange as well if there's a requirement to do so. And obviously, if you're keen to look at being a partner and getting on board with us and obviously 7Signal, then certainly, again, feel free to get in contact with us on the details at the bottom of the screen. Now, there was a couple of questions which I might just pop into. Now, let me just quickly go through what we had. So, Eric, you mentioned right at the beginning, I think this is in relation to the Sonar. Did you want to just quickly outline, is there a need for a Sonar? And can you outline, I think, what the question is more around what the additional benefits might be of having something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful question. So the Sonar is a test endpoint that you put in your environment so that we can actually measure throughput, packet loss, and jitter between your devices and the endpoint that's in your environment. So we typically would put a Sonar in a data center. We have customers who will put maybe multiple Sonars, one in on different sides or different LAN segments so that I can actually test throughput, packet loss, and jitter through different router switches, firewalls, and gateways. You know, when we typically do a speed test from our computer, it's to an endpoint out on the internet somewhere. And that actually is a good internet test. It's not necessarily a good test of your network. So the real value of putting a sonar in your environment is that it's testing your resources against your clients. And your clients are able to perform tests to see how well or how poorly they're able to reach your servers and your data centers on your LAN WAN. So the sonar does come with our system. And once again, we recommend that if you have a large LAN WAN, that you actually can put you know, more than one, two, or three, if you will, so that you can actually then test what performance is like through different LAN segments.
Brilliant, thanks for that. Hopefully that answered the question. Good question here actually from Daniel. Can you define baselines individually for each of the KPIs?
Well, as part of our project and as part of working with you, we work together to identify what the baseline should be. What we've determined, or what we've discovered actually, is that these baselines for performance are different everywhere we go. And it would be silly for us to just walk in and say, okay, good performance is 10 megabits of throughput, when it might not be. That might not be the value at all. So what we'll do as part of the project is we'll work with your team and identify, okay, what are you expecting in terms of throughput? What is the service level agreement that you have with the business? Maybe that service level agreement says that you need to have 50 megabits of throughput up and down, and you need to have that 85% of the time. Well, then that's how we would program the system. We would program 7Signal so that those were the metrics that we were using in order to kick off when performance alerts would be sent to you. By the same token, on, for instance, a guest network, maybe you only want to provide 5 megabits of throughput, both up and down, and that you don't want to be alarmed or notified unless it goes down to 1 megabit of throughput. It's your prerogative. And what we do is we program the system according to your needs, according to what your expectations are, and according to what your service level agreements are with your internal customers.
Fantastic, thanks for that. This one's obviously come from an existing Ekahau user. I see that there are some sensors within Ekahau. Can you explain what those actually are and what that shows?
Yeah, you can use Ekahau to actually help you, like the Ekahau site survey, you can use that to help you determine where to place SapphireEyes in and around your environment. So we partnered with Ekahau, we got the SapphireEye antenna patterns into the system such that now Ekahau is aware of how of what the relationship is between SapphireEyes and access points in your environment from a signal standpoint. And so as a result, you're able to use tools and systems that you already have in place in order to optimize the implementation of 7Signal.
Okay, we've got a question from John. Can the spectrum analyzer identify sources of interference? I believe it's specific to things like microwave ovens, CCTV, etc.
Yeah, so it's what we would call like fingerprinting. So we don't have, there are some sophisticated spectrum analyzer tools out there that will actually identify the signature. They will fingerprint it, if you will, and tell you, okay, this is Bluetooth, this is microwave. So we don't have those capabilities in our spectrum analyzer. So what I've done is there's a great resource that I found online. I think Ekahau also has some of these resources as well. And I've quickly been able to learn how to identify the different signature patterns of interference. So now just by looking at a spectrum chart, I know if I've got Bluetooth, I know if I've got a microwave, I know if there's something else that's potentially blasting the 5 gigahertz band or 2.4. So while we don't do that fingerprinting, there are a handful of signatures. And again, with a little bit of practice, by looking at those spectrum analyzer charts, you'll know immediately if you have interference.
Brilliant. Hopefully that answered that question. There's one here that I quite like. We are an MSP. Does 7Signal offer a multi-tenanted type solution?
Sure. So it's not a standard type of a offering or relationship that we have. There are strategic instances where we will partner with an MSP so that they can provide this high level, almost white glove service, if you will, to their customers. So if we have an MSP on the line and that MSP really wants to, talk at a high strategic level about partnering with Open Reality and 7Signal, then we are open to those conversations. But as a standard offering, we do not partner with every MSP or a variety of MSPs. It's really, truly, it would be a strategic relationship.
Thanks, Eric. There's a couple of questions around commercials. Obviously, how much does it cost? Those types of things. We'll probably keep those ones offline, but essentially we've mentioned that there's two different types of sensor. You have the 2100 and the 500i. There's also subscription licensing that goes with it, anywhere from 1 to 3 to 5 years, depending on the requirement. And we're happy to discuss some pricing with you and those types of things as and when required, based on the project. We've had another question come in, and hopefully we're not going too bad on time. Do you offer API integration for extracting data? And that is from Matthew.
Okay, great. So we do have an API, and actually we do have some customers who exclusively use the API in order to get the metrics, KPIs, and statistics that they want from the system, and they import them into their own dashboard that they've created. And so in that dashboard, they're actually gathering up information from a variety of systems and putting it into a screen or a dashboard in a command center or a control center. And they pluck out the metrics that they want from 7Signal as well. So there is a REST API that's available for SapphireEye, and it's very easy to use. It's very powerful.
Fantastic. I think that pretty well sums up most of the questions that we can answer at the moment. So unless there's anything, Eric, you'd like to add, we might wrap up.
Well, that sounds great. Yeah, I first want to thank everybody for joining today. This was a lot of fun. As you can tell, I really enjoyed talking about this system because, again, we're trying to take the mystery out of Wi-Fi. We know Wi-Fi is invisible. We can't see it. We don't understand why it works one day and not the next. And as a result, we've tried to give a system to the marketplace that actually will reveal what's truly happening out on the edge, in the air, on devices, so that you as an IT professional are equipped with everything you need in order to help people, both whether it be customers, external or internal customers. So I'm just really excited about our partnership with Open Reality. I mean, you guys are amazing, and just want to say thanks once again.
Not a problem. Appreciate the good words. Okay, guys. Well, we'll wrap up there. Everyone who has registered and who is attending today will receive a recording of the session. Like we mentioned earlier in the piece, if there's anything or any sort of questions off the back of anything that's been discussed today, please feel free to get in contact. We don't bite. We're more than happy to help. So yeah, look forward to speaking to you in future. Thanks.